Pop's Back, Chapter 5. I truly hate to tell sad personal stories. I really do. Sad ones always break my mood. But I must eventually tell you the story about what happened to Pop. So tonight's the night. I keep putting it off, and I hate writing about it. I actually hate thinking about it. I quit calling him Pop a long, long time ago. But first, just to lighten things up a bit, let me introduce you to Jerry, my very best ever Parasailing Marine buddy. We met as DIs on the drill field, and I admired him with envy and jealousy. He was one cocky son of a bitch. I can't wait to tell you about Jerry. At Parasailing, I felt tough. I acted tough. And I actually been tested as tough many, many times. I don't remember ever losing a fight after I joined the Marine Corps. I was bullied constantly in high school, and I lost many fights. But as a Marine, I knew damn well I was physically and mentally tough. I had no question about it, and then I met Jerry. Jerry taught me all about being emotionally tough. I looked up to and admired him. He was also the funniest man I ever met in my entire life. He could really make me laugh. But that's for later. Now I have to tell you that part of this tale that I really do not look forward to telling. So let me start by saying, my father, who art in heaven, or Pop, as I used to call him. I have no clear memory of Pop except one familiar to me who slept in the same bed as my mother on the third floor attic at 1103 West Norwegian Street, Pottsville, Pennsylvania, the capital of the anthracite coal region. I was in a crib in the front room with my brother. They were in the next room in the back on the third floor. It's fuzzy, but I remember him from that point. It wasn't really clear, but I do remember it. My next memory was the visits at Grandmom's. I already described them to you, so I'll skip that part and won't bore you again. I'm not avoiding telling this story. I truly just do not remember it. If I do remember anything, it's spontaneously while I was typing the book, or as I'm reading now. What I remember most is, one day, Jimmy and I were at Grandmom's house, and the next day, Jimmy and I were on a 23 trolley car with Pop, going to a place called Kensington. That's my whole point. Everything about Pop was a total surprise, and he actually scared me silly. I never adjusted. My brother never recovered. My little brother Jimmy and I were literally ripped out of my grandmom's arms. It was a very unhappy party, and Kensington was a shockingly strange new neighborhood when we arrived. He wasn't a bad father. He was a drunken father. There was a really big difference. He only beat me once with my pants down. He wasn't mean. He was jolly, and he thought he was very funny. I just adored him. After all, he was my Pop. Florence tried hard to be a mother. She was a great cook, and she made a real effort to connect with me. I used to stand behind her and comb her long brown hair with a stiff brush over and over every night while listening to the radio programs or sitting at her feet as she taught me how to crochet with a needle. We made beautiful hankies at night together with all kinds of beautiful combinations of color, and she was very, very good to me. Pop and Mom, as we were instructed to call her, both listened to primetime radio programs and drank beers every night or drank wine and ginger ale on weekends. Weekends was when the fights began. She shoved him down the flight of steps the first time I saw them fight, and punched him into a full-length mirror the second time I saw him fight. Jimmy cried, and I secretly cheered for her to win. His drinking got worse and worse as time went on. She started with her prolonged absences and short returns. He ruined every single Christmas and every single holiday. It was absolutely awful, and I hated it. But Pop was my father, and she was not my mother. Do you get it? Children of alcoholics do. We all know what this problem is about. After he conned me into going back to Mount Airy, and after the security of living with Aunt Bert and Uncle Connie for a few years, I finally forgot about him. And unless I really stopped and concentrated, I still can't remember much about her. In my junior year of high school, I got this strange phone call from him. I was very pleasantly surprised. He wanted me to meet him in a public corner at Germantown and Chelton Avenue. The plan was always to go to a movie together. We met secretly. I never told my brother or anyone in the Dewey clan about the meetings. We met a couple of times a year. The trouble was, he always had to stop into a bar for one quick beer, and that was the end of each movie. And also, that was always my cue to ask for the trolley car money home, or he would even drink that up. I knew he was living as a homeless person at the Roxborough Salvation Army, exactly because of his just one more beer attitude. I always went home depressed after each meeting, so finally I quit responding to his calls. I made peace with myself, pretending I was normal by avoiding him. During high school in Mount Airy, I secretly watched the men on the Salvation Army trucks that were picking up things from trash all along the public streets in our neighborhood with a very wary eye. Anyway, I was relieved when he totally lost contact. He was never my model for a person to be and did not fit into any of my future plans.